going to be amazing. You're going to love tonight. You're not going to see me. Yeah, Sonia, I agree. Late Nights with Dr. Bill, part 3. I think this is part 4 now, Doctor.
Yeah, no, this is part 4.
Okay, so I just want to quickly get my side right. Okay. Everyone, tonight, I know you can hear me. Tonight, we're going to talk about the mind of an entrepreneur taken from 6,000 brain kaleidoscope profile. Compare yourself. Now, this talk tonight is about discover the brain-based profile of the heart, the mind of a successful entrepreneur. First time ever, a brain-based profile of a manager entrepreneur. Discover how close or how far you are to the critical success criteria. Are you an entrepreneur? Do you have what it takes? I think that is the most important. Do you have what it takes to shift your business from survival to thriving and scaling? Discover the blockages that hold you back from true success. Attend the coaching session and discover where you are on the profile and what gaps and shifts you need to attend. And find out the fact to drive strategy, you need a specific mindset to do that. Success is the mindset and the strategic formulas. And I think that is important. And I'm so glad that today's messages goes hand in hand with Chad, with Graham, with Dr. Bill. Everyone's messages coming together. I think this is what we need to hear. And I'm so privileged and honored again, Dr. Bill, for you having you here tonight. I'm going to shine off. Dr. Bill, this is your evening. It's time for you to shine. It's time for you to bring over your knowledge and wisdom and give the people what they are looking for, because we are called for something big, and I know you are as well. So, Dr. Bill, the floor is yours. Enjoy and chat to you later.
Thank you very much, Kobus. Good evening, everyone. I'm not too sure who's on board and who's here and who's not here. But welcome, and it's again my privilege and honor to be able to talk to you. And so this is going to be very interactive. So you got to get ready. In the early presentation, I'm going to ask you to click on the email that's in the chat box, and you're going to answer. And you're going to do a quick little profile test that I've got on the board here. And then you can just email it off to me so that I can just add it to some of the things that I'm picking up in coaching entrepreneurs right now. But we are paying attention this evening to the profile and in understanding the brain. So the brain, a manager has a brain, a leader has a brain, a CEO has a brain. And everybody thinks that they are a good business person simply because they've got a good personality or they've finished an MBA and they've got knowledge. But there's more to success than just knowledge. So both success and failure each have the same formula. So if you are successful, you are focusing on certain things at certain times, and you're doing those things at certain times. And then failure is the exact same. You're focusing on certain things at certain times and doing certain things at certain times. The opposite is also true in the equation. So I am successful because I'm focusing on certain things and not focusing on others. And the same is for success. I'm focusing on certain things and I choose to not focus on others. But in the next 20 years, the gameplay for business is going to be different, absolutely different. It started 100 days ago. And in the next 20 years, as a futurist, listening to some of my futurist friends, I belong to an international futurist group called Foresight in the United Kingdom. And their predictive validity has been pretty good. But life is not going to be the same. We're not going to the same normal, or we're going to a different normal. We're going to totally different, absolutely, totally different. So it's almost like there's this introduction now of Uber, where it never existed. Tra-la-la, here it is. It now exists, and it is now on the playing field. For whatever reason, you as an entrepreneur, so I'm focusing on people who are entrepreneurs and possibly in a business. So you've created from survival. You've moved from survival mode, then you moved into a little bit of a growth mode, then you moved into thrive mode, then you went into business mode, and your business has grown. But my advice to you is never kill the entrepreneur in the business, because the entrepreneur is always the one who's doing what process people can't do, what leaders can't do, what managers can't do. They are stuck in a formula of what I've got to be paying attention to. So you can quickly double check if you're an entrepreneur in terms of what level you are. And there are 7 levels of entrepreneurs. If you're at level 1, it means you've got about 5 customers. If you're at level 2, you've got about 10 to 50 customers. If you're at level 3, you've got about 100 to 800 customers. If you're at level 4, you've got about 1,000. And from level 4, it becomes scalable. So the moment you've got 1,000 customers, not loyal. There's no such thing as a loyal customer. If you want loyalty, you must get a dog. And then level 5, you've got about 10,000 customers and you're a market leader at that point. Level 6, you've got 100,000 customers. And at that point, you are national and regional. And then if you've got 1 million customers, then you've gone global. So, the art is to be able to create a sustainable, retainable business, so that you can live from it and you can live out your highest values, because that's the main reason why entrepreneurs go into business. They go into business for a few reasons. They go into business for freedom. They go into business so they can create their own money. They're their own boss. They're independent. They're basically resilient. They want to create wealth, and they want to have time on their hands so that they can do whatever their interest is, travel the world or create another business just for fun, etc., etc. But in the next 20 years, whether you're an entrepreneur or a manager or a leader, the biggest thing is what we must understand is there's going to be a call for high value creation. So if you're not creating value as a basis of anything that you're doing, you are setting yourself up to fail. And so our mind states have to change from practical to quantum. So we've got to think far bigger than what we've ever thought. And it's been proven for people that have won the lottery that all of a sudden here they are and they've got 10, 20, 40, 100 million rand or dollars, and they don't have the mindset to run that money. They've got no idea. There's no frame of reference. So in understanding the brain, and the brain is being understood as it is being unfolded. So no one can fully say that they fully understand the brain. But we do know through neuroscience how the brain is functioning, the biology of the brain, the chemicals that it creates. We understand what stress does on the brain. We understand how leadership works more than personality. So the DOS program is what I'm talking about. That's the neuroscience or the brain biology. So there's a lot of things that we've got to unlearn before we even start. So we got to move from entrepreneurial growth in our thinking, and we've got to move towards sustainable growth and sustainable prosperity. We've got to think away from I'm going to be a monopoly. And that's the reason why I'm on this planet, to rather looking at community. So it's now inter-competition must be an open mind. Where we thought quantity, we're now going to think quality. Where we think competition, we're now going to think collaboration. So in the next 20-mile march, where we find ourselves, if you don't have those kinds of mindsets, then we're going nowhere. So in the nearly 3 decades that I've had the privilege of having about 38,600 one-on-one hours with CEOs and boards and entrepreneurs and managers, and out of that had around about 20-something thousand brain profiles when I designed and redesigned. So it's version 4 now. I've learned one thing, that 80% of any business is interpersonal relationships. I don't care how many apps you've got and how many computers you've got and how many whatever you got. A business is not made of computers. It's made of interpersonal skills. So you've got to spend 80% of your time in the 80% of business, which is interpersonal skills. And then the other 20% is your skills, your skill set, which is your talent, your experience, your knowledge, your MBA, your wisdom, your collective wisdom, and experience. So, and your gifting as a manager and entrepreneur. But we live our lives out in, whether it's in business or in life, we live it from the center or the core of our values. And then there's a few dynamics that we find within the brain and also within the personality. And that is the reality of self-awareness. There's a lot of self-ownership that we've got to take hold of. And the new thing that has moved into the business space now and leadership space is mindfulness. But the fact of interpersonal relationship is the real deal and the real skill. So before we get into the talk of where we're at, I'd like you all please to click on the email in the chat box, inspired@drbill.price. And in the email, I don't want you to create a table. I simply want you to type the words that I'm going to share with you on the left-hand column, and then you're going to give 2 numbers to it out of 5. But before you start typing them, I need to just tell you. So the first number that you're going to put down next to the word or the feeling is, how often have I experienced this feeling over the past 100 days? So over the past 100 days, how long and how often have I felt it? So 0 is none, 5 is always. Please be aware that the moment you say 5, it's an overgeneralization. You're being subjective and delusional. So anybody who gives himself a 5 out of 10 for most things on a questionnaire are in delusion. They're in subjective delusion. So you're not cognitively aware of, so it's a thumbsuck answer. So stay away from 5s. Then the second score is, how intense did you feel that feeling? So remember, everything that goes into the brain, whether we've heard it, seen it, felt it, smelt it, tasted it, in terms of movement, experienced it, the brain took all of that and turned it into energy, and that energy is experience. So when a person says, I'm depressed, my first question is, at what state of depression are you? Are you intensely depressed? And how long have you been intensely depressed? So a 5 score is, it's been very powerful. And the way that you can say that is, I felt it intensely in my body somewhere. So an emotion can be felt. There's energy with it, and it's the energy that creates the emotion and the thought. So you'll always get energy, and you'll always get a thought and a feeling that goes with that. So just type in the email, the first word is content. So how content have you been over the past 100 days? And just kind of close your eyes, take a deep breath, type the answer from about 1 to 4. Or 0 to 4, and how intense. So just put a little / and then the second score. Your second emotion is, how satisfied generally have you felt over the 100 days? How satisfied have you felt over the past 100 days? In terms of how often have you done it, the first score, and the second score is, how intense have you felt that satisfaction? Was it a powerful satisfaction? Was it felt? Did you feel it? Was it kinesthetic? The third emotion is how fulfilled have you been in the 100 days? How often have you felt fulfilled? Do you wake up every day feeling fulfilled? Is fulfilled part of most of your day? In the beginning, at the end of your day, then it's low score. But if it's the whole day, then that'll be a good 3-4 score. Then the next word is unfulfilled. Hopeful. So how hopeful have you felt? And hopeful is a sense of I've got the possibility of faith. I'm hopeful that things are going to turn out right. And you hear it when you say it. So when someone says, how hopeful are you for the economy to swing back? You'll hear pause and hesitation, and that's not a strong hopefulness. So the moment there's a pause and hesitation in the expression of the word, then you need to know it's like, no, it's not really, it's not often, and it's also not powerful. Then the next word is how joy and happy. How joyful and happy have you been over the period? How joyful and happy have you been over the lockdown period of 100 days so far? And then the other word is how determined have you felt? So how often have you felt determined? So if you start off in the day, I'm determined, then it lapses. It goes into a lull. It goes into autopilot. So all of these emotions, we feel it sometime during the day, and then the rest of the day, it goes autopilot or it takes a back step and then just stays there backstage, whether it's behind the curtain backstage or gone into the change room backstage, then it means it's exited the play. But if it's still on stage, then you can give it a number. Then how grateful are you? Gratitude. Look at the word grateful. How grateful have I been? How often? And also how intense have I felt gratefulness? So last night we learned how to meditate gratefulness, and we felt it quite strongly. So that is so its presence is felt strongly. Very seldom do people feel grateful every day, all the time, but it ebbs and flows. So kind of write down a score for your ebb and flow for gratefulness, how often, and then also how intense when you do feel it. Then the next emotion is doubt. How often have you felt doubt? And how intense was it when you felt it? And it's the intensity that is the critical key factor to our emotional life or our feeling life. Remember, in neuroscience, we don't talk about emotions. We talk about feelings. Then out of control. How often have you felt like, flip, this is now like out of control. I can't get a hold of it. And there's out of control is almost like a sense of you driving and you've lost the steering wheel. Somehow you're on the steering wheel, but it's not connecting with the front wheel or the axle. And whatever you're doing here is not happening on the road. It's like when you're in a spin in a car. You can drive zoveel as wat jy wil. If the car's in the spin, there's particular things that you've got to do. Then worry and stress. How much worry and stress have you experienced over the 100 days? Worry and stress. And then how dissatisfied have you felt, where you've gone to the place, I'm really dissatisfied. I think the Afrikaans terminology for that energy and that emotion of dissatisfied is I'm gatvol. So every time I go into a store and put the mask on and just have its texture against my face and the smell of my own carbon dioxide, I go, this is really, it's no gatvol for masks. And then unfulfilled. How unfulfilled have you felt in your life? Because whether you're a leader, a manager, you live with your brain, and your brain has feelings, and your brain gives you energy when you have feelings. So there's not a leader that I've coached in 3 decades that is the styleman and the superwoman and Batwoman who doesn't have any feelings and stuff like that. They are real people that have real feelings and real emotion. And then after unfulfilled, the last two is how much fear did you feel in the lockdown, and the last word is hopelessness. So I felt hopeless. I just felt like the air is out of the balloon, the wind is out of the balloon, and the balloon is like, it's I'm watching it deflate and fly at the same time, and it's like I can literally do nothing. And if you're honest, there were times when all of these happened. So once you've given the 2 scores to them, press send to me, and then I will be able to do some work with it. And Kobus will send me the email list of the people that are attending, and I'll be able to share with you a little bit more information around that. So there we have the basis of that. Okay. So now, if we look at the dynamic, natural, latent abilities. Now, latent abilities simply means that whether we are a superhuman being, everything that we do goes into a latent state. Latent state just means it goes not into a dormant state, but it goes into autopilot state. That's why last night when I said, when the hassle and heartache and trouble stops, we are going to stop being determined to learn. We will stop self-learning. It's a prophecy, I can tell you, and you can take it to the bank. Self-learning will take a deep dive when the coronavirus stops and they open up everything. You've got to learn everything now. And the reality is, if it's a pity that you haven't done anything about it in the corona time, and if you're the same person after the corona virus time opens up, then that's the greatest shame. And I'm sorry for you. I really feel sorry for you, because you've never changed and you're going into a new world walking backwards. And you cannot walk into the future backwards. You've got to walk in wide awake and alive. So when we work with personal potential, we need to realize it's latent, but there's got to be something that's got to ignite that latent ability. And it's a story of the 2 drunks. They're in the bar. The one drunk goes home and he takes a shortcut and he goes through the graveyard. He falls into the grave, and because of his drunken state, he's out of control. He can't get out no matter how hard he tries. So he clamours and he throws gate, and he's trying to get out and screaming and shouting. And eventually, in his drunken stupor, he decides, I'm going to just sit back, pull my collar up of my jacket, and settle into the corner of the grave, because tomorrow, when they're going to have the grave service, tomorrow hope is going to come. Hope always comes in the morning. He falls asleep. The second drunk has not fallen asleep. He just carried on drinking, so he's in a worse state. He goes home, he takes the shortcut, the same shortcut as the story goes, and he falls into the same grave, unbeknown of the other one that's there tucked up in the corner. And he tries the same thing, screaming, shouting, digging holes on the side, trying to clamber out, jump and yell. And all the noise wakes up the first drunk, who focuses on this lot in the moonlight, makes the decision that he wants to be helpful, and he clears his throat and he goes, he says, you will never get out of here. And the man did. He jumped out, and all he needed was a little bit of motivation. So our latent abilities only click on when we are challenged. The reason why there is such a great amount of creativity and innovation right now is because of the challenge. So now let me take you to what the profile looked like. Now this looks like a very interesting slide, and if you want to take a photo shot of it, you're most welcome. But let me just share with you. So the strategy is the outer circle. So this strategy over here is the outer circle. This is the environment. So the white space of the page is the environment. And in this environment is the economy that we're in. It's within the political world that we're in. It's within the corruption that we're in. It's within coronavirus that we're in. So that has got there are parts of it, of this white, but there are companies who are making strategy and they're creating tactics. Tactics is the next step I'm going to take, because my strategy is I want 2% of the market. A very interesting coaching situation in the beginning, an IT company, quite a large IT company. The CEO, before Corona lockdown, when they heard that they're going to lock down in 4 days, he called me in and he had his board and his executive team together, and he walked to the whiteboard and he wrote the following: due to the fact of total disinterest and lack of interest in the coronavirus, we are going to continue to, and he wrote ... and he sat down and he said to me, Dr. Bill, please coach us on that statement. We are going to disregard COVID-19, and we're going to continue business, and we're going to build around it, over it, through it, no matter what. It's after all just a virus. That's as simple as what it is. But we realized, and then we had to coach reality of economy and all of that. And they are thriving. They are making 90% of their budget. And they've never paid anybody off in the lockdown period whatsoever. So they're still showing profit and margin and gain and all of that. So the outside here is the strategy. Then this dotted circle that you see that goes around, that is the ego and the personality. So the dotted circle, or the circle with dots in, is the ego and the personality that is within the brain. So the moment you go in there, the body is that line there. Then you get the ego, and in here is the brain. And we dealt with this triangle in our lecture last night. So in our essence, there's the level of consciousness, which goes into the environment. Level 1 stays within the person. Level 4 goes out into the environment and into consciousness itself. You've got spirituality, you've got essence, your self-identities, your values. This is where we pick up what's different about entrepreneurs and managers. And then you get a mindset of benefit, growth, and fixed. And then you have this energy. This little blue block over here is energy and feelings. And the moment you have a thought or a feeling, the first thing that happened was energy. You can't have a feeling or a thinking until energy has been experienced somewhere in the body. So the energy is connected to the body. Then you have your attitude, which is your bias. And your bias is something like, if you ask a question, can I ever understand a woman? Can I ever understand a man? Can I ever understand a teenager? And that's very clearly defined in the Bible. The answer is no. He says there are 3 things that you'll never understand. You'll understand the ways of a woman, the ways of a teenager, and the ways of an eagle. You won't understand that. So you can pray and fast as much as you like. You'll never understand that. Never understand it in your entire life. And then over here, we've got a band which we call our debate, our final debate, or our convincing strategy. And after that, a decision is made. Now, where this pops out into strategy is where we have behavior, habits, and rituals. And this little circle over here for an entrepreneur in a business is called the flywheel. And they've got a direction in which their company is going, and that's called the strategy, and an outcome. There's a place somewhere that they're going to reach. But everything that happens in the circle, the momentum, that's what business owners look at. So whether you're looking at your balance sheet, your cash flow, what is that saying? I'm looking at the momentum of my business, the flow of things that are happening in my business. Cash in, cash out. No cash, nothing can go out. The only thing that goes out is a letter to your bank to say, dear bank, help. So here's the circle, and it's the job of the entrepreneur to make sure that this flywheel is turning, and they go make sure that every single action in the circle that's going to create profit, it can either create profit or it can create loss, or it can create chaos. So what we as leaders are paying attention to is we're paying attention to that little circle, because that's every strategy comes into that circle. every tactic comes into the circle, and we watch its momentum and its timing and its pacing and its direction. Whether you're a businessman, woman, or you're an entrepreneur, you are mentally trained by business schools and universities to pay attention to the momentum of things. That's why they've got all the tools in the world and Excel spreadsheets and all the formulas, etc., and it's necessary, but you're paying attention to the momentum, the pacing, and the timing, and the numbers tell you the results of the behaviors. So I was coaching in a retail company, and there were some of the dealer principals that were found it very difficult to understand the financial statements. So I said to the financial director, turn your balance sheet and your financial statements into a behavioral statement sheet. So when you say profit, give me 4 things that they must do to make profit. Where you say cut costs, give me 5 things that they must do to cut costs, and turn what you see as a financial director and understand in your copy everything about finance. Your people that are working under you and with you and for you don't understand that. So turn it into behavior. So if you're going to sell a car, give me the behaviors of what you need to do to sell a car. Pick up the phone. Use social media, contact 20 people. Out of 20, you'll have 3. Then contact the 3, and out of 3, you'll have 1 person that will sell a car. And then you begin to work out all your ratios and you understand your formulas. So in the profile of the entrepreneur, out of the 6,000, we took, there was about 2,600 of them that we took to create the profile that I'm about to share with you now. So when you're taking notes, there's 10 main competencies that an entrepreneur had in the profile. And for you to be engaged in this process, you need to give yourself, where do you think you are while I'm talking about this competency, and be careful to give yourself a 5. All right. So if you're an accountant and you can balance the books, then I'm going, great. You can give yourself a 5 for balancing the books, but interpreting the books is another story. What will you give yourself for being able to interpret the figures and tell the business where they're going based on what the figures say? All right. So it's important that it is important to understand that where I am now is where you will plot yourself, and then you've got to go to a place where you say, where do I desire to be? And that'll be a different score here. Hopefully, it'll be a little bit higher than the score here, and that tells you the growth that you need to make. And I would appreciate at some stage if you could either make a copy of it or scan it or do whatever, and also send it to the same email with your name, and just tell me your occupation so that I can have a look at this and then bring the emotions and the competencies together. All right, so let's start at the top. I'm not going to write them in. So the first one is conscious awareness. And these are not in any particular point of importance, but every single top high-end successful, and we measured success based on the book Good to Great. We measured success on their market share. We measured success on profit. We measured their shares. We said, give us your vision, and then let's look at your vision and the impact that your strategy is having based on your vision. Are all items in your vision being paid attention to? Are the people in your team aware of it? So we did 360s in the companies. And so out of those 2,600 entrepreneurs, take it on average there was about 2 or 3 in a company. So there's about 1,000 something companies that we profiled from all walks of life and various industries. So the first one is conscious awareness. So they are self-aware. So when you double click on that competency, people were very self-aware. They were aware of their strengths, their weaknesses, their gifting, their talents. They were aware of opportunities. They were aware of the market. They were aware of the competition, and they were aware of momentum. And they were also aware of the opportunities that are out there. So self-awareness and consciousness had more than just to do with my own self. The brain scan was open and it was scanning the horizon. So there was a brain scan that was switched on, that they were constantly scanning. The top entrepreneurs were very strong on understanding what their competition does and could tell you what the latest offer is in the latest offer in the competition and what they were doing about it to counteract it. The second criteria over here, and you're marking yourself there, the second criteria is they were very strong in interpersonal intelligence in their brain. So interpersonal intelligence means I am social. I'm orientated with 80%. I work with people. And so they could work with teams. They had conversation intelligence. They could have communication intelligence. They worked with people. They knew when they were up and when they were down. They knew how to motivate them. And the best way to motivate your team is not to guess. So you ask your team, ask them, if I had to manage you in such a way for you to give me 90% of your engagement, what four things must I do? Tell me as the manager. And they got people to tell them. They also asked the backside of the question, which was, if I manage you in the following 4 ways, you'll be demotivated. Tell me what they are. So they move into a realm of awareness. So there's consciousness in the boardroom. There's consciousness in the teams. The team leader knows what pisses people off and what turns them on. The team leader knows, supervisor knows, with this person, and it's got nothing to do with personality. It's got everything to do with the way that I want to be treated. So don't try and turn this into a personality exercise and think that a personality test is going to answer this for you. You ask the brain knows. How do I want to be treated? How do I not want to be treated? Then the third very important one that came up also very high was the capacity to have business savvy. Now, there are lots and lots of entrepreneurs. So my two weaknesses as an entrepreneur, and I've been in the game now for over 20 plus minus years, it's a regret which I've had to work on and work through, was financial savvy, know the financial formulas, etc. Although I coach financial directors in companies and they've taught me many a thing, so I'm very open when I'm coaching financial directors and I listen to the speak that they use and the talk. So financial and the business savvy is critical. Market savvy is important. Product, know exactly what the product is that I'm selling and know exactly what systems are working. And the business savvy is about business intelligence. It's not facts and figures and graphs. So they don't just have graphs on the wall that go, we were up and down and up and down. They can tell you why they were up and why they were down. So the month report is more than just figures up and down. The month report was school holidays. There was a war in India. The Ethiopian president sneezed. The Chinese farted, and now we've got the virus, and et cetera, et cetera. The next one is, and please listen to what it is, it's called customer connection. And we got this word from the top entrepreneurs. We didn't make this word up. This was made up for us in the interviews with them, and they didn't call it a customer relationship management system. If I had my way, I would shoot every designer who's ever designed a customer relationship management system, because all you're managing is data. You're managing information. There's no intelligence in it. So Diners Club send me a thing. Do I play golf? I go, you don't want me to play golf. I'm very dangerous on the golf field. I play Roman Catholic golf here, daar, Suntu, and Suntu. Where else? I do a lot of magic on the golf. So the balls that I hit bounce off water, and they do amazing things. They bounce from tree trunk to tree trunk and then onto the green. don't ask me that question. What are you going to do when you know I play golf? Are you going to ever ask me to golf? Question, answer, no. Do I like movies? Please tell me in your business, what are you going to do with a customer that likes movies? What are you going to do with someone that likes wine? You know my birth date, you know everything, but like Absa Bank and FNB Bank and Standard Bank, and I've got accounts in all of them, they still call me dear, valuable customer, but they featured me. They've got my full names, my ID number, my address. They even came to the house to verify that I'm living in the house. They know my birth date. They know my birthright. They know my children, my children's children. They know my ID number. They know that I even have to fill in an ID number when I go into a building. Before the coronavirus, I was also just, the rebel in me wakes up and then I just sign my name, Nelson Mandela, and I give them all sorts of strange information, going, why do I need this information to come into I know now for Corona, so I tell the truth. So customer connection. How connected are you with your customers? Because in coaching CEOs, my question to the CEO is, in your diary, can you show me how much time you're spending with your customers? And are you asking questions? Where are they headed? Because where your customer is headed is where you need to be ahead of time. So you're going, okay, I've got a database of 5,000. I'm going, that's amazing. What do you know about them? The other question is, who do you know? And who are your raving fans in your customer database? How many have you converted into a raving fan? And then the next competency is, there is 4 words here, and that is in the logical levels of the brain. Most entrepreneurs are big picture, process, detail, toward. Big picture, process, detail, and toward. So the entrepreneurs are busy with the big picture. They're looking beyond where they are now. Interestingly enough, when we profiled and we said, where's the vision in your head? 81% said it's to my right. When I think of my vision, I'm thinking of the picture here on the right-hand side, and it's slightly up. And that's interesting within itself. So they are very focused on the process of, give me the big picture, show me the process, let's cut to the detail, and then let's make sure that those 3 things are moving us towards the true north, and our why and our vision. Then the next one, criteria under there, or competency under that, is curiosity and creative solutions. That is found in every high-performing entrepreneur. Creativity and the reality is that they are paying attention to creative solutions and curiosity. Then below that is autonomy and self-ownership. So there's a strong sense that this company is mine. The CEO of an IT company that I'm coaching, he treats that company as if it's his own. He sold it. I coached him to sell it, and he sold it for a huge profit. And now the other company that purchased him said he must stay on for the next 3 years, but he still treats that company as his own. He treats the people in that company like he treated the people before he sold the company. So he didn't exit because there was money involved. He's got a very strong set of values but autonomy and ownership, and it's about self-investment. And this person is doing a lot of self-investment. And as a coach, when people say to me, no, I believe in self-development, and I'm going, show me your diary and show me your budget. So if you show me your budget and you show me your diary and there's items in there that correlate, then you're not delusional, and I won't call you a liar. Then the third last one is taking calculated risks. We found that when we were profiling entrepreneurs, they were not risk averse. So risk was part and parcel of the game, but they calculated. They did a scenario. They paid attention. If I take this risk, that's going to happen. But the gut level, the intuitive ability of the brain was alive, and they worked towards the reality of taking the risk. So they'll go, I don't know whether I should appoint this guy, but you know what? I've got a funny feeling on the inside of me. I need to appoint him, and bam, 9 out of 10, it's correct. The second to last is that they lead out. They lead out. And we watched them leading out, and we created a trademark model, which is called POEM, P-O-E-M. And it is different to what you learned at business school called PLOC, Plan, Lead, Organize, and Control. That's a Jurassic Park model. Chuck it out. It's not even worth writing down, PLOC. So POEM stands for proactive, purposeful, productive, positive planning. That's what the mind is paying attention to in the letter P. The letter O is orchestration. It's not control. It's orchestrating. It's going it's the shifting of resources resourcefully. E is for execution. No, that's not taking someone out, but it's getting it done. They're leading out so that it can be executed. They're asking questions. So what have we done? What have we paid attention to? What are we not paying attention to? And they're focusing on the little flywheel at the top with actions. And they communicate vision, and they are people of vitality and inspiration and influence and integrity and intuition. Very pioneering. And then the last one is they are very strongly linked to their values. So values are the criteria with which entrepreneurs lead their life. So if money, and interestingly enough, every single person has got money somewhere in their value system. I don't care if you say, I'm not interested in money, that I'm going, okay, so where do those headaches come from? And where do you go into stress at the end of the month when there's not enough money? And you say you're not interested in money. So most of the companies that I coach, I'm going, somewhere in your mission statement, you're going to say, we want to make profit. Are you correct? Yes. In your strategy, your financial director gets up in the gray suit, and he's always detectable, and puts up an Excel spreadsheet that's skrik for niks with 20 columns that way and 60 columns that way, and then says, we want an increase of 15% overall. And then I ask, where did you get that number? 15%. Why is it 15? Because out of the 1,000 businesses, it's about the average, 15%. Where do you get that number from? And it's a thumb suck number. So it's like, no, we believe. Have you looked at the economy? No. The shareholders said we must have it, yeah, because the shareholders are just bloody greedy. They just want their money, and they don't care. The reality that's happening, they don't care. We want our money, and that's all we're interested in. So there's no give, or very little give from shareholders in terms of that. So measure yourself in terms of where you are now and where you need to be, and kind of highlight if there is a 1 or 2 point discrepancy. That's an area that you need to pay attention to, that you need to call a coach into and say, please coach me on this. So if I was a coach and I was coaching you as an entrepreneur, these would be the competencies that I would bring into the coaching model. So I'd be asking you, it's like I'm asking the question as a neuroscience brain coach, how's your brain paying attention to business? And what's the evidence that you're looking for? To be able to, for you to be able to say, for the brain to say, okay, you are paying attention. Because remember, my subconscious and my conscious and my unconscious are active in business. They are active in business. And so in my unconscious and consciousness and subconsciousness, for it to be appeased or for it to be made happy, there's got to be certain behaviors that need to happen. Otherwise, it's going to send a signal up and go, here comes fear, here comes anxiety, Here comes the disillusionment. And they are all messages that the brain sends up into the in-tray to go, you're not paying attention to the stuff that you promised yourself. The brain doesn't, you're not born with stuff in the brain about business. It's built in. And it becomes a belief system, and it's woven, and it becomes a woven belief thinking system. And the brain compares that with your behavior and my behavior and says, you're not congruent with your values. You're not congruent with reality now. So management, leadership, business is your brain in action in real time. So I do hope that you will send me your document and your summary and tell me what line of business you're in and a little bit how big your business is, etc., so I can just get a feel. And I won't divulge who it is or whatever, but I'll make a compilation and send out a summary to everybody that attended tonight about the whole entrepreneurial backdrop and how the entrepreneurial brain works. So yes, the brain was influenced by business school and by management and by university and all of that. Actuaries are far more trained. In actual fact, the more CEOs we get in large companies that are qualified actuaries, they'll make more common sense decisions. And then the other reality that I've noticed in business, and I'm closing with this, is I've watched how board decisions can destroy a company. How board decisions can destroy a company. They just go, no, we're not going to give the CEO this, we're not happening and not doing this. And I'm watching two companies right now where the chairman of the board, together with two people on the board, are manipulating the rest of the board, and they are signing their death warrant. They will hear the toll of the bell. It's predictive. And as a coach with quite a few years of experience, I've seen how that happened, and I can share that with the CEO and the executive team, which I've done a few times in some of the companies that have gone publicly bang and then have got to come back up again and be helped. So I was there when it happened and watched how it happened, and I watch how the brain makes the decision in real time, and I watch the impact of that. So there's politics as well within it. And that's another reason why entrepreneurs want freedom. They want freedom from politics. So steer a company away from internal politics, because internal politics is where all the bias lives, and your politics can destroy your strategy. And it was Peter Drucker who said that culture will eat strategy for breakfast every morning. So thank you, Kobus. There you have it. And you've measured yourselves as entrepreneurs. And I'd love to interact with you and get you to send me some of your information. And I'd like to see who is in the audience tonight and be able to pick up a profile from that and give you feedback as a general group. Thank you, Kobus.
Hello, Dr. Bill. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great stuff. Yeah, now everyone has been enjoying tonight. They've been just laughing loud about the women and the female and the man. So people were enjoying themselves. I don't know if there's anyone that has questions, but for me, the most important is, we will get all of the details and everything to you by the end of the week. So you will have to be able just to wait a little bit, but I'll make sure that we get everything out to everyone. Is there any last questions that any of you would love to ask the doc? Wow, Dr. Bill, awesome as always. We'll send in those forms. Thank you, Sonia. Alan says, I wonder if any religious body has ever considered that the creator is female. Alan, I won't say that aloud. Eh? Yes, typing long. Thanks, Doc, and thanks, Kobus. Pleasure, Alan.
Excellent. Thank you, folks, for your time and energy. And I'm seeing if you've completed the information on your emotions and how you've rated them, please just send them to Inspired email, and I'll be able to pick it up from there and do some calculations. And if you want to send in your information around your competencies, it's kept private and confidential, and all I want to do is to put it into a cluster and into an so that's basically it. Thank you very much, Kobus, for the opportunity, for the journey with you. I think we've impacted a lot of people. Whether the impact has been helpful, I'm hopeful for that. And whether impact is going to be lasting, that's up to them and their decisions that they're going to make from here on in. And we go forward being aware and conscious, but we're also aware of the fact that we cannot believe our own public relations. Then that's the beginning of the death of any organization, when you believe your own public relations. But thank you. It was wonderful being able to be part of an amazing team of amazing people that I've met. And I wish you well. I wish you success in your businesses and everything of the best. Do what you've got to do.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. If I've missed any questions, please feel free to email the doc. We're going to say goodbye tonight so that everyone can get a night rest. Thank you very much, Doc, for your time and effort. I really appreciate it. Everyone, the replay will be up by tomorrow morning. And have a beautiful night, and see you tomorrow on the last day of Meeting of the Minds.